way.
What the hell you had with?
Listen, if you really know the background of who Jay Wright is, I'm really a criminal trying not to be one. I'm so honest about it. Like I've been arrested for 26 violent felonies.
Oh my God.
All violent.
Who are you fighting?
Everyone. I love to fight. It's my favorite thing to do. That is my problem. And I'm one of those people that really stand on what I believe in.
Light-skinned person, because they
No, I'm
don't
not.
be trying to get dirty.
Listen, I am light-skinned with dark-skinned tendencies.
Okay, I got you.
I don't act nothing like anybody else that look like me. I like to fight. I do all bad things on accident, but it's because I stand for.
Davenport police respond to an open 911 line at 1503 Calvin Street. The call is active. No one is speaking on the other end. When officers walk through that door, they find Wilanna Bibs, known to everyone who loved her as Wana, from Durham, North Carolina. She does not make it out of that house. She was hundreds of miles from home. And here is what separates this case from the moment you first hear it. Wana did not have to be in Iowa that day. She had a ticket, a plane ticket, already paid for, that would have taken her back to North Carolina, back to her mother, back home for Mother's Day. She never used it, because someone convinced her to stay. Welcome to the Crime Edition. Today we are covering the case of Wilanna Bibs, a 20-year-old woman whose life was taken on the one day she should have been celebrated. This case has courtroom evidence and forensic details that most channels never fully covered. And by the time we get to the end of this documentary, you will understand exactly why this case goes deeper than what the headlines ever showed. Subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a case like this one. And drop a comment right now. Tell us where in the world you are watching from. We read every single one. Now, let us get into it. Wilanna Simone Bibbs was born on September 11, 2000 in Durham, North Carolina. She went by Wana, and from a young age she carried two things with her: a voice that could stop a room and a work ethic that most people twice her age could not match. Her mother, Cassandra Bibbs, described her as one of the most forgiving people she had ever known, someone who never held a grudge, someone who was always smiling in every photograph, in every memory, in every version of herself her family could recall. By the time Wana was 20, she had already made a decision that took real courage. She packed up and relocated to Atlanta, Georgia to chase a music career, not because someone handed her an opportunity, because she believed in herself enough to go find one. In Atlanta, she was not waiting around. She launched her own mink lash business called Lashed by Willie. She started a clothing line. She worked at KFC, at an airport, and at a restaurant called Daddy-O, all at the same time, because she was building something and she refused to slow down. Cassandra later said her daughter could sing like an angel, do makeup like a professional, and style hair like she had been doing it for years. Wana was not one thing, she was everything, all at once. That was who arrived in Atlanta, full of plans, full of drive, full of life. What came next, nobody in her family saw coming. Justin Wright was born on October 6, 1989 in Atlanta. He went by Jay Wright in the music industry, and on the surface, his story looked like something worth respecting. His father was a DJ who passed away when Justin was very young. At just 8 years old, Justin wrote his first song and performed it at his father's funeral. By 13, he was writing and recording music on his own and posting it online. That music caught the attention of R. Kelly, who brought Justin into his circle and mentored him, teaching him how to structure songs and navigate the business side of the industry. By 16, he had his first platinum song as a songwriter and was working alongside names like Chris Brown, Bow Wow, Lil Wayne, and Soulja Boy. At 17, he signed to a major label. 4 months later, the label shelved him and prevented him from releasing music for the next 4 years. He did not walk away. In 2011, at 21 years old, Justin founded Camp Entertainment Worldwide. Through that company, he built a working relationship with some of the most recognized names in music: Timbaland, Cash Doll, DJ Khaled, Rick Ross, Gucci Mane, Future, 21 Savage, Nipsey Hussle, and more. He also contributed to projects for VH1, Sony Entertainment, and Lionsgate, and ran Wright Jewelry alongside the label. By every public measure, he had made it. But the version of Justin Wright that the industry profile presented was not the complete picture. 1 month before Juanita was found in that house in Iowa, Justin sat down for a recorded interview on The Post-Up Show, hosted by Mo Clark. In that interview, he admitted to having been arrested on 26 separate criminal charges, all involving physical confrontations. He said he loved that kind of conflict, that it was his preferred way of handling things, that he had no regret about it. He said it openly, on a live platform, 1 month before Mother's Day 2021. One more thing worth noting before we move forward. Justin had roots in the Davenport, Iowa area. His mother lived there. That connection is what brought him to that city. And that city is where this case ends. Before Wana ever entered the picture, there was a woman we will refer to as Ann. Ann had been with Justin since she was 17 years old. Together, they had a daughter named Jayla. According to what Ann's own public statements, the years she spent in that relationship involved financial control, manipulation, and a pattern of behavior that left her with lasting consequences, including Justin allegedly accessing and impersonating her on social media to collect money from her followers, and leaving her accounts in a serious financial deficit. She also stated that an incident during the relationship left her with lasting damage to her voice, ending the music career she had been working toward. Ann eventually found a moment to get out. She left with nothing and walked into a nearby Costco to get help. After that, she focused on regaining legal custody of her daughter Jayla through the courts. Now here is where the story becomes more layered. Ann and Wana connected through mutual friends in Atlanta. According to what has been reported, Wana initially came over to do Jayla's hair. That was the first time she was in the same space as Jayla and Justin. From that point, Ann and Wana built what appeared to be a real friendship. They spent time together. They looked out for each other. But underneath that friendship, something more calculated may have been happening. An audio recording later surfaced in which Ann appeared to say that her decision to introduce Wana to Justin had not been accidental, that it was part of a strategy to keep Justin settled while Ann worked through the legal process to get Jayla back. Wana's family disputed that framing firmly. Their position was clear. Wana was a young woman who was brought into a situation she did not fully understand, who trusted someone she believed had her best interests at heart. And then there was this detail that most people covering this case skipped entirely. A member of Wana's family later posted publicly that Justin had made a direct threat against a family member during an earlier confrontation in Atlanta. That threat was documented before the Iowa trip, before Mother's Day, before everything that followed. The warning signs existed. They were there on record. The question is, who was in a position to act on them? In May 2021, Justin, Wana, and Jayla made the drive from Atlanta to Davenport, Iowa. The reason given was a family birthday gathering for one of Justin's relatives. There were also family members dealing with serious health situations. Justin's aunt and someone close to his mother were both hospitalized. Justin later told detectives he had stayed longer in Iowa than originally intended because of those emergencies. That part was corroborated. But here is what the coverage of this case consistently left out. Before that trip, Cassandra Bibbs had already purchased a plane ticket for Wana to come home to North Carolina for Mother's Day weekend. Wana was expected back. Her mother had made a plan, paid for it, and was waiting. Then Justin's mother, Mamie Williamson, stepped in. Mamie convinced Wana to stay in Iowa rather than use that ticket. The exact conversation between them has never been fully documented, but the result is documented. Wana did not board that flight. She stayed in Davenport. Wana's cousin later spoke to the Neighborhood Talk. Their account was straightforward. They were dating, and Justin manipulated and controlled her. She was trying to leave. His mother bought her a ticket to come back to her son. Read that carefully. His mother bought her a ticket to bring her back to him. Meanwhile, Wana's father, Thomas Bibbs, was already receiving information that concerned him. A contact from North Carolina had reached out to let him know about a prior incident where Justin had chased Wana. Thomas sent a direct text to Mamie Williamson. He expressed his concern. He wanted answers about his daughter's safety. He never got the response he was looking for. Nothing changed course. Nobody intervened in time. Drop a comment right now and tell us, do you think Mamie Williamson understood what her son was capable of? Because by the time this case was over, that question had a very uncomfortable answer. The morning of May 9th, 2021 started the way most Mother's Day mornings do, with a message. Wana sent her mother a text. "Hey Ma, happy Mother's Day. I love you and appreciate you for everything you do. Love, Bug. Call me." Cassandra was at work. She did not see it in time. Wana called her mother 4 times in a row. Cassandra missed every single one. At 1:05 in the afternoon, Wana called her close friend, Kylan Adams. Adams later testified about that call at trial. She told the jury that when she answered, Wana was distressed, breathing hard like she was moving fast. Adams said she could hear vehicles nearby in the background. During that call, Wana asked Adams for money, specifically money to pay back Justin. The call lasted about a minute, and then Wana said something Adams carried into that courtroom 2 years later. She told Adams that Justin was going to take her life. Not that she was afraid, not that things had gotten difficult. She used those specific words. She said it out loud to someone who loved her in what turned out to be the final stretch of her life. 3 more calls came after that, at 1:07, at 1:17, and a final one at 1:25 in the afternoon. During the second call, Adams testified she heard a male voice in the background. He was using strong language telling Wana to get in the car. Wana said no. Adams identified that voice in court as belonging to Justin Wright. At almost that exact moment, Davenport police received a call at 1503 Calvin Street. Cassandra Bibbs was still at work. She had not called her daughter back yet. By the time she tried, it was already too late. Officers did not respond to a routine call that afternoon. What came through was an open 911 line. Someone had placed the call and left it connected without saying a word. That distinction matters because it shaped exactly what law enforcement was preparing for when they pulled up to that address. Davenport fire and medic units were also dispatched. When first responders reached 1503 Calvin Street, they found Wilanna Bibs. She was declared deceased at the scene. From that point, the property became an active investigation scene. Crime scene technicians processed the home methodically. The vehicles parked in the driveway were examined. The attached garage was searched. Every room inside the house was photographed and documented. The work continued for several hours. The forensic findings were clear. Justin Wright's DNA was recovered from the firearm used in the incident. That point was not disputed at trial. It was a confirmed result from the physical evidence collected at the scene. The forensic analysis also established the positioning and distance involved. Wilanna had been facing away when she was struck. The weapon had been discharged from a minimum of 4 feet away. That finding directly contradicted the idea of a close-range accident or any kind of mutual physical confrontation. There was one more layer to this that the mainstream coverage did not emphasize enough. On the afternoon officers arrived, Mamie Williamson, Justin's mother, told responding law enforcement that a firearm had gone off inside the residence by accident and that someone inside had been hurt. That account was placed against the forensic reconstruction at trial, and the 2 versions did not line up. The arrest documentation was explicit. It stated that Justin Wright had acted with deliberate intent and premeditation. He was taken into custody and booked into Scott County Jail. The court set a cash-only bond of $500,000. When Wright appeared before a judge, he requested a court-appointed attorney. He told the judge he had no income at the time, that his belongings had been stolen months earlier, and that he had been staying in hotels. The same man who had worked alongside platinum recording artists was standing in a courtroom asking for a public defender. Scott County Attorney Kelly Cunningham would later say the Davenport Police Department did an outstanding job on this investigation, and that the forensic evidence they built their case around was exactly what the prosecution needed. After his arrest, Justin Wright was placed in an interview room with Davenport detectives. He sat there for an extended period of time, and he talked at length. He talked about the birthday gathering he had missed, about the relatives who had been hospitalized, about his PTSD. He told detectives he had been in the middle of loading his car to leave Davenport when officers arrived, that his laptop was already sitting on the stairs. He described his connection to Wana as minimal. He said she was someone he had briefly been in contact with, but had pulled back from once he found out she was connected to Anne. He referred to their recent communication as occasional. He told detectives she had transferred money to him through Apple Pay earlier that day, money he said she had owed him. He then said something that shifted the focus entirely. He claimed that if Wana was in Davenport, it was not because of him. He said his mother and Wana had developed a relationship of their own, and that Mamie had arranged things between them without his involvement. That statement placed him in direct conflict with his own mother's account to police. He also positioned himself as a target. He described Anne, Wana, and others as people who had been working against him, conspiring to damage his life and reputation. In all the time he spent in that room, he did not ask about Wana. He did not acknowledge what had happened to her. He did not express concern or confusion about her condition. When a detective brought her up directly, he said he was sorry. Then he said the room felt like it was spinning. He said there were voices in his head making it hard to give clear answers. He told the detectives he had never been someone who relied on firearms, that he handled things with his hands, that a firearm was not his approach. The physical evidence already told a different story. His DNA had been recovered from the firearm at the scene. The prosecution later framed his pattern of conduct across the relationship and inside that interview room as that of someone driven by control, insecurity, and unchecked anger. The way he redirected, deflected, and performed disorientation while never once showing genuine concern for Wana was, according to their argument, entirely consistent with that profile. Justin Wright entered a plea of not guilty. The trial opened on March 28, 2023 in Scott County District Court. It ran for 10 days. Scott County Attorney Kelly Cunningham led the prosecution. Wright's defense team consisted of attorneys Mina Brandt and Ryan Beckenbaugh. Cunningham structured her case around 3 points. The first was the physical evidence, Wright's DNA on the firearm, and the forensic conclusion that Wana had been struck from a distance of at least 4 feet while facing away from the shooter. The second was the phone record timeline, the documented calls Wana made to Kylan Adams in the final 20 minutes of her life, and Adams' direct testimony that Wana told her Wright was going to take her life before it happened. The third was behavioral history, documented accounts of controlling and threatening conduct toward Wana in Atlanta, presented to the jury to establish that what happened on May 9th was not an isolated incident. Mommy Williamson took the stand on her son's behalf. She told the court Justin had been dealing with mental health challenges since the age of 17. She pointed to charitable work, that he had raised money for families of Quad City crime victims and had contributed to programs for local school children. She told the jury her son was not the person the prosecution described, that what he needed was support, not a sentence without any possibility of release. Wana's family sat in that courtroom through all 10 days. Deliberations began at 11:15 in the morning on April 10, 2023. At 12:45 that same afternoon, 90 minutes after they started, the jury came back. Guilty. First-degree homicide. Outside the courthouse, Wana's aunt, Deborah Williamson, spoke to reporters. She said, "She will never have a husband. She will never have a child." Kelly Cunningham told the press the evidence had spoken for itself. Sentencing was scheduled for June 14, 2023, before Judge Tamara Roberts. Wana's father, Thomas Bibbs, stood before the court and addressed the judge directly. He told the room that his daughter had been taken from him, over $70. Cassandra Bibbs then delivered her victim impact statement. After everything, the missed calls, the missed flight home, the years of waiting for a courtroom to deliver an answer, she stood before Judge Roberts and said, "This came out how we wanted it to come out." Justin Wright did not say a word. As officers moved to walk him out of the courtroom, Mamie Williamson asked if she could say goodbye to her son. The deputy shook his head and kept moving. Judge Tamara Roberts handed down the sentence, life in prison with no possibility of parole. Wright's legal team subsequently filed an appeal with the Iowa Court of Appeals. They attempted to reframe an ineffective assistance of counsel argument as a structural error claim, a legal strategy aimed at getting the appeal considered through direct review rather than the standard post-conviction process. The state pushed back. On January 9, 2025, the Iowa Court of Appeals dismissed the appeal, ruling it lacked jurisdiction under Iowa Code Section 814.7. The court found the claim did not qualify for direct appeal and had to be pursued through post-conviction relief proceedings instead. As of 2025, Justin Lamont Wright is serving his sentence in Iowa State Prison with no legal pathway out. Cassandra Bibbs has continued to keep her daughter's memory present. On September 11, 2022, what would have been Wana's 22nd birthday, she organized a public celebration of life at Briar Creek Shopping Center in North Carolina. She has continued speaking about Wana, about who she was, and about the future she was building before it was taken from her. If this documentary gave you something worth taking away, subscribe to the Crime Edition and hit the notification bell. We are here every day, going deeper than the headlines on cases that deserve more than a passing mention. Wana Bibs deserved more than a headline. We will see you in the next case.